Pope Francis has gone in for surgery. Diverticulitis. He's got some. He's got to have surgery for his diverticulitis. What is diverticulitis? So I can't remember whether it's the large intestine or the small intestine. I can't remember. But anyway, a weakness in the muscle of the wall of the intestine, and little pouches develop, and then bits of food get caught in there, and that creates an infection. And Pope Francis is 84 years old. But funnily enough, this diverticulitis is not really age-related necessarily. I had a friend, he was a teenager, he had diverticulitis. But they say you got to follow a strict diet. My one brother-in-law, he's got to have a strict diet. There's certain things you're not allowed to eat. You can't eat things that have seeds and grains, like in other words, solid little thingies that are going to get caught in pouches. You gotta eat the smooth stuff. That was good. I implemented the drinking tea again component of the podcast. I hope you don't mind. But isn't it funny how the popes are always old guys? They're always old, hey? Pope Benedict was old. John Paul II was old. This Pope Francis is 84. They always got grey hair. They always look old. I only remember Pope John Paul II. I think he was on the scene. When did he get? Installed? I think 1974, maybe. I'm just taking a wild guess. For some reason, the date 1974 sticks out. Who was the Pope before John Paul II? Do you even know? Do you even know? Did you know that Pope John Paul II, he was actually born Jewish? He was Jewish. He was born Jewish, and then he converted along the way. How about that? You didn't? Did you know that? And then Benedict was supposed to pass away already. He resigned due to ill health, but the man's still alive. She's like Shabir Sheikh. Apparently, he was on the golf course the other day. The Vatican's got a golf course. He was there, still playing. What is he still getting? A Pope salary or the Pope pension? I don't know. I'm not suggesting any untoward behavior. Maybe he's fine. There's that movie, The Two Popes, with can't remember that one actor, and Anthony Hopkins. I must actually still watch it. It's on Netflix. It was quite good reviews. But wouldn't it be really cool? Imagine if the Vatican just shook it up one day. They just shook it up, and they got a pope with jet black hair, a pope that looked like Ronald Reagan. A pope that could still dance like Fred Astaire. Although I don't think popes really are allowed to dance. I think before you become a cardinal, maybe when you're a priest, can you dance? Probably not, eh? But imagine you got a George Clooney looking pope. Wouldn't that be something, hey? The world is changing. Marijuana is legal in certain parts of America. Except not in athletics. A shame that Richardson lady, young woman, 100 meters. She won the 100 meters in the Olympic trials. You probably know all about it. They found traces of a chemical found in cannabis in her blood sample or her urine sample. Do they give urine? Do they give blood? Do they give both? I think they give both. Anyway, it's strict rules. She's out of the Olympics. And Seth Rogen, who's a huge marijuana advocate, he says racism. They shouted racism. No. Even if she was white, the same thing would have happened. Anyway, she's taken it quite well. She said, disappointed, but I'll be back next year to be a world champion. I'll be the world champion next year. So it's the World Athletics Championships next year. It's a pity. Because whoever wins the women's 100 meters at Tokyo might be like a bit of a hollow victory. Unless she does some amazing time, like 10.5 or something insane. But if she does a 10.85, we'll think, or a 10.9, Richardson would have beat you. Bit of a hollow victory. It's like back in the 1980 Olympics in Moscow, when America boycotted the Olympics, and in the men's 100 meters, it was embarrassing, because the men's 100 meters there were no Americans and Jamaicans and what have you. So Alan Wales, I remember this story. Alan Wales of Britain, he won that 100 meters in like really 10.25 was his time. 10.25. And I don't know if this is true, but I know somebody who knew him, who knew somebody who knew somebody. Apparently he still talks about it today, how he won the 1980 Olympics. Get a hold of yourself. Pull yourself together, bro. There was like, who were you running against? Some Russian with a stiff hamstring. With a torn quadricep. Please, man. Come on. Pull yourself together. Men's 1500 meters, 800 meters, that's different, because there weren't any good Americans doing that. So when Sebastian Coe won the 1500 and Steve Ovett for Great Britain won the 800, that was fine. That was well done. Anyway, you know that Sebastian Coe is now the president of the IAAF. How about that? I don't know. Normally you have to have qualifications, and look, I know Sebastian Coe did go to university. He's got a degree. Suppose he's got a degree, so he must be reasonably intelligent. I actually read his book. He wrote a book many years. I actually read it. Anyway, enough about that. What is on your mind? What is on your mind? What is everyone talking about? I don't know if everyone's talking about it, because when you look on social media, what people are talking about on social media is not necessarily what you spoke to your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or whatever, your spouse this morning. Not everyone's necessarily talking about it, but it's just, I couldn't help myself. I normally don't watch speeches. I hate speeches. Maybe it's my attention deficit disorder. I can't concentrate. I force myself to watch former President Jacob Zuma's speech. And he's not a good speech. He's not a good orator. Not a good orator by any stretch of the imagination. There's pauses that go on. You could park a bus. Parallel park a bus in the spaces in between his sentences. Yo. And this is something that he probably practiced. But anyway, one can argue English is not his first language. Okay, I'm a racist. I'm sorry. I'm not a racist. I take that back. That was just a joke. Before I get into the Jacob Zuma, I had a bit of a racist incident now. Well, not racist. More like a racial incident. Customer of mine comes this morning to swap perfume. She wasn't happy with the 2 perfumes. She wanted to swap for another 2. So she arrives and her car is parked outside the gate. And my miniature schnauzers, just 2 of them. Well, I got 3 miniature schnauzers. But not Rufus. Mika's not like, Mika just hangs back. She just relaxes. Even if her leg is good or bad. I'll mention Mika's leg in a moment. The woman standing outside her car, she sees my dogs and she sprints back into her car. You would think it was like an episode of The Walking Dead, and she saw zombies and she had to get away. And I walk up to her car and she opens the window and she with a hey Damon, you know, us black people and dogs, you know, we don't get on. So I look at her and I smile and I look at her and I say, you know what? Times have changed. You know that I've actually seen black people with their own dogs. I see black people. I see black people who actually have dogs. They're walking their dogs. They are dog owners. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's not such a, major thing. So I said that to her. She smiled. And then I also said to her, at this point, I'm trying to she's a customer. I got to be nice. So I very calmly said, if my dogs were vicious, if my dogs were dangerous, do you think I would let my dogs just come out and, attack and kill you? I never said attack and kill you. I left that part out, but that was in my mind. And then she just smiles. And then I realized afterwards, you know what? She's a black woman. She grew up in South Africa. And for all you know, maybe she's been in situations, or friends of hers have been in situations over the years in the past where white people have allowed their dogs to attack them. So yes, okay. But you're my customer. I sell fragrances to you. I don't want even if I was some crazy, insane racist, would I want my dogs to attack you? I want you to buy fragrances from me. The customer is always right. I want a customer. I don't want my dogs to attack you. You're my customer, even though I'm a racist. Okay, I'm not a racist, but that was the example. So anyway, I suppose fear and panic override any logic and reasoning, I suppose. I suppose if you've been traumatized in the past, yada, yada, yada. But these are miniature schnauzer. You know how dangerous a miniature schnauzer is? You can maybe trip over a miniature schnauzer and break your neck. And then that's how a miniature schnauzer might hurt you. Standing on the top of the stairs. This is dangerous. This has nearly happened to me. Standing on top of the stairs and you trip over your miniature schnauzer. You. That miniature schnauzer will be up for murder. Or culpable homicide at the very least. But they're dogs. So the law doesn't allow that. But you get that. You get the meaning. You get the, you understand where I'm coming from. So, former President Jacob Zuma, I watched his speech, and I don't regret watching it. I must tell you, do yourself a favor, and go and watch it. Entertaining on a morbid kind of macabre level. Just some things that came out of the speech just blew my socks off, eh? In fact, I'm looking down now and I don't have socks. I don't have socks anymore. Where to begin? Where to begin with Jacob Zuma's speech? Okay. The main theme of the speech, the point that Jacob Zuma pushed about 3 or 4 times, maybe even five times. The speech went on for 26 minutes. Main theme of the speech: detention without trial. Detention without trial. So he's saying, his appearance before the Constitutional Court, he was sentenced to 15 months, but there was no trial. Hence, detention with no trial. And this is like apartheid. Now this is the joke. Jacob Zuma in the past, he's made fun of white people that can't pronounce Nkandla properly. He was in Parliament and he said Nkandla, making fun of some people who can't say Nkandla properly. He can't say apartheid properly. He says apartheid. It's apartheid. So that's like unacceptable. That's crazy. And what Jacob Zuma did was just, here's the irony. Over a year ago, people were making fun of crazy white people comparing apartheid to the lockdown restrictions. Oh, we're not allowed to surf. We're not allowed to go to the beaches. This is like apartheid. And everyone laughed at those people because it was ridiculous. And a satirist like Coconut Kells, she did a whole thing on it. And in fact, one of her skits he's been replaying lately on the Twitter. So yeah, and then here's the irony, the biggest joke, is that former President Jacob Zuma, he was comparing he was comparing 2 things. Detention without trial. Now, I'm sorry, Mr. Zuma, what an insult to people who actually lived under those conditions, and you yourself lived under those conditions. Detention without trial back in the late 70s, early 80s to late 80s, even maybe 1990, up to 89, 88, 89. You could be woken up in the middle of the night, police barging into your house or wherever you lived and drag you away and put you in detention without trial for 90 days. After 90 days, they release you. They can then, as you walk out the prison, as you walk out of John Foster Square or wherever, they drag you back into jail. People disappeared for up to a year, 2 years. Some people disappeared for a number of years. Detention without trial. no access to lawyers. Some people, a lot of people, thousands of people were tortured. Some people were murdered, thrown out of windows. People committed suicide. There was death in detention. And you are now comparing your situation to detention without trial to those days? Come on, sir. Are you like, have you, I mean, it's just so disingenuous. It's so dishonest. It's such an insult. How could those words actually come out of his mouth? And his lawyer, Dale Mpofu, shame on you, Dale Mpofu. I mean, you're his lawyer. You probably crafted and helped him with his speech. You encourage this absolute nonsense? And that's only the one thing, detention without trial. My tochus. And then he compares lockdown restrictions, curfews. There's the curfew, there's a 9 p.m. curfew. He compares that to the state of emergency, to apartheid South Africa. In fact, he even said that he's worried that South Africa is heading towards an apartheid type of state, or an apartheid type atmosphere. What? Are you crazy? Yes, the lockdown restrictions, you can criticize the lockdown restrictions. You can have your questions around it. Maybe it is foolhardy. Maybe you can disagree with certain things. But don't tell me it's apartheid. That's just unacceptable. And he re-emphasized this point 4 to 5 times. It's just unacceptable. Mr. Zuma, you have access to lawyers. You have access to very good lawyers. You are in comfort. You haven't even been imprisoned, actually, in this current situation. You haven't stepped into a prison cell since your Robben Island days. Detention without trial? Are you crazy? How can you sit there and say these things? It's just unacceptable. And then other diabolical things. All the hundreds and hundreds of people at Nkandla crowding each other, no masks, no social distancing, major super spreader event. The police, not implementing any of the lockdown regulations. But if I decide to go for a walk after 9 o'clock in the evening, I will get arrested. But all these people that attended these mass gatherings at Nkandla, yes, there was the odd mask here and there, but in total, not really. So Jacob Zuma's speech was just diabolical, and I'm so disappointed. I mean, anyway, it is quite something. And then the point that he gave, former President Jacob Zuma says he claimed that he was prepared to attend the Zondo Commission, but then he called it the Commission of State Capture. He was quite prepared to attend, but because of his relationship with Judge Zondo, his past relationship with Judge Zondo cannot be impartial, and he accused Zondo of being biased towards him. Doesn't make any sense at all, because the alleged relationship that Zuma and Zondo have had in the past was not a relationship. It was not a negative relationship. It was a family connection relationship, a friendly relationship. So if there was some bias of Zondo towards Zuma, it would be a favorable bias for Zuma. So that doesn't hold any water whatsoever. And former President Zuma could not prove at all any bias and any non-impartiality towards him. He couldn't prove any of it. And whatever judge was going to replace Zondo, chances are he's got some connection to that judge as well. So the former President Jacob Zuma really didn't have anything that held any water, he didn't have any credible content in that speech that I sat and watched. And then he made a very strange comment. He said it should not be called the Zondo Commission, because if something had to happen to Judge Zondo, maybe illness or he has to be away, another judge would take part, would take over, and it would still, the Commission of State Capture would still continue. What a petty, irrelevant point to make. So what? The commission's always named after whoever the presiding judge is. It's really, really not an important major point to have made. Anyway, Zuma, the Constitutional Court has given Jay-Z leave to appeal this whole 15-month sentencing, and he's appearing before the Constitutional Court again on the 12th of July. Do you think people in the 80s, people fighting against apartheid, do you think they were afforded such nice, such opportunities, such legal avenues? Not at all. People disappeared overnight and were never seen again, or were seen months and months or even years later, etc., etc. I remember the late Winnie Madikizela Mandela giving testimony at the TRC, speaking about a police officer, Swanepoel, and they wouldn't give her sanitary pads, for example. She was in inhumane conditions in solitary confinement. She didn't know she didn't know the condition of her children, where were her children, etc. That was just one example. Oh, I almost forgot one very, very important thing. Another thing that Zuma said that is also complete, utter nonsense. He said a sentence of 15 months imprisonment for a man of my age is akin to a death sentence because of the pandemic. So this is like absolute nonsense on two counts. First of all, sir, you should have been vaccinated. You should have had the vaccine. Hello? So it shouldn't be an issue. And then he went on about, so he mentioned it's a death sentence and then said the death sentence has been unconstitutional since 1995. So he brings up that, trying to insinuate, giving another apartheid insinuation. Should really, really be ashamed of himself. Disingenuous is putting it very, very lightly. Come on. What an insult. What an absolute insult. You could do better. Really, you could do better. And his lawyer, Mr. Dalu Mpofu, are you doing your client any favors? Are you being a good lawyer? I don't think so.